So there are 200 calls you're doing every day, sitting in a seat. Your time is measured, everything is logged about a call center agent, and then you don't know the guy on the other side is faking it or it is not, and then you have a target to achieve. Now, if we go tell that person, be very empathetic in the conversation, be polite like this, answer like that, you're also grilling that agent. Right? So that is what is happening when you put humans there. That's what the technology like a voice bot is kind of trying to largely address. Some part of it we are addressing today, but I think the way AI is happening and the possibilities that it is opening, it can have a very frictionsome call with lesser friction but get a better outcome. It is inhuman to ask a human to deliver 200 calls with full empathy. It's not going to happen. It's absolutely rigorous, it is cumbersome, it shakes you in. UPI is a deal breaker for the economy. Otherwise, how is money reaching very pockets in India, and how is lending happening? So it's accelerated a lot of things. It accelerated a lot of transactions, accelerated handling of money, especially accelerated paying back.
Getting remembrance of there was a movie called Chupke Chupke, Shahid Kapoor classic, right? So in that there is a very funny scene where Shakti Kapoor comes and asks the lender. Lender has given around 35 lakh rupees. How much? So it tells 36 lakh. Clear case that I have given 35 lakhs, but I have spent 1 lakh more just to get the collection. Welcome to another episode of DataPedia. We have a very exciting guest today. One of very exciting entrant and a very new entrant in the Fintech industry, has been pioneering the depth side of it. India anyway has been pioneering in Fintech industries. And today we have the Chief Data Officer of UB, Mathangi Sri. Welcome Sri to the episode.
Thanks.
If you can introduce yourself, it will be great.
Absolutely. Pleasure to be part of the podcast, and it's always great to share some of the insights, have some discussions. So I'm looking forward to it. I am Mathangi. I'm the Chief Data Officer at UB. Have around 21 years experience in data science analytics. Always excited by the possibilities that AI can do, and especially being at this point where a lot of action and a lot of expectations are happening, is just being to be great in this field. Overall, I have had a opportunity to work with startups, large corporations, have associated with companies which had put data in the forefront of decision making all along, and that's a journey that I've thoroughly enjoyed. So I look at my role as on the impact that I can create through AI. I think today we are at a point that we can make any possibility a reality, and with a faster velocity. So you think of an idea today, tomorrow it's possible, and day after it goes live. So it kind of accelerates transformations, accelerates impact, builds towards a social cause in a lot of ways. So that's what this journey has been for me.
Awesome. That's a great explanation, and let's talk a lot about what you are doing at UB. So the fundamental of what this company does and what UB is pioneering, if you can briefly tell us.
So UB started out as a marketplace of those who need money and those who can give money, and then expanded into the entire lending infrastructure for the debt ecosystem in the country. Acquired a couple of companies, so it became an end-to-end suite of not only a lending infrastructure but also a collections, digital collections infrastructure, and then also into risk management. So we do risk management, we do infrastructure for debt lending, and then on collections we make sure that the money that is given comes back. So it's an entire circle covering both retail as well as enterprise users.
So how it is different from a traditional bank, because most of these banks also lend money and they have their own circle, own departments where the collection also happens, right? So what different UB is doing, and are these banks also some of your customers, and how this entire ecosystem works?
Yeah, banks are our customers. We don't do lending. We kind of help banks, kind of funnel their money to the right pockets. We help them with technology. We help them with decision making through AI. And we kind of make sure that the collection efficiencies are higher, etc. The whole decisioning plus the technology infrastructure framework is through us.
Okay, so it is mostly technology driven rather than people driven, right?
Yeah, it is it's a fintech company.
Okay, so manpower is so traditional bank, if I will say, it is very dependent on manpower, right? They have branches. Small towns will have respective branches. Branches will have branch manager. Then there is all those manpower. Then there will be contractors who will be doing these collections and all. So much manpower kind of business. How you are able to solve it with technology?
So we'll only, because you asked about collections, I will talk about two different things. One, the AI platform that we have, which is called as Uverse. This is a AI platform that we directly offer to the banks, and they can plug and play various solutions. We will talk about in detail about it, but I will only touch on the collections bit that you had mentioned. So collections itself has changed tremendously over the years, and COVID kind of had been one of the good effects of COVID has been an acceleration of digital collections. And now, and especially, see, if collections don't happen effectively, then lending doesn't happen. So they are very interconnected. So if you want to have deep penetration of finance, and you want to reach pockets that is otherwise not reachable, you need to use technology, and you need to power that through AI. That's what we are doing in collection. So we have a platform that does decision making of what is the right time to reach a customer, what kind of message to give the customers, etc. But also power it with actual action. So for example, our voice bots, which is called as BASA, we have around more than 1 crore calls a month on conversational bot, right? So which talks to the customers, nudges them in the right way. So let's say a customer is in the pre-due stage, like the amount is yet to be paid, maybe 2 days to pay the amount. You need a gentle nudge, not a very forceful thing to the customer. Whereas a late stage customer going through a distress is a different thing, right? And some of these calls we hear, and people are in distress. If you don't have money, you don't have money, right? You can be called 10 times, one collector can come to your house, but you still don't have money. So how empathetic you can be in the entire process, I think at scale, only technology can deliver it. So that's why I would like to call the whole collections problem we are solving, especially as empathy delivered at scale. Right. You can't have a whole call center running and then beat them out saying, be empathetic. How can a call center person be empathetic through the day? Because imagine he's all the time talking to customers who have defaulted, and many of them know that they have defaulted, and possibly some of them are also willful defaulters. So
And also these customers, in what state of mind they are, right? Because the way they will respond is very different to it is not uh, step which can be followed, right? If you have a contact center, generally humans are given a list of steps, that these are 10 questions you go and ask, right? And when the person is on the other side who is defaulting, you do not know at what situation he is, right? What mind frame he is. So is it AI has come into this stage that it is able to judge all those things and can traverse the conversation accordingly?
So, good question. So, I'll answer this in two parts. I said we are delivering empathy at scale, and we are staying very true to that vision. Now, empathy is both ways, right? So, this is why I was describing what happens in a call center. So, let's say somebody is doing 200 calls a day, and they are talking to customers who have, some of them are willful defaulters. They know they are defaulting. They could pay, but they are not choosing to pay. Others are in distress. So there are 200 calls you're doing every day, sitting in a seat. Your time is measured. Everything is logged about a call center agent. And then you don't know the guy on the other side is faking it or it is not. And then you have a target to achieve. There is an efficiency that needs to be communicated. So you're focusing on all of that. Now, if we go tell that person, be very empathetic in the conversation, be polite, answer like this, answer like that, you are also grilling that agent, right? It's not just having empathy to the customer. So we have a product, in fact, called as UB for Conversation Intelligence. It's called as UC, we call it. What it does is we analyze, millions of calls, which is happening in call centers, and then it says what happened in the conversation, how stressed the customer, and these are very stressful conversations. Collections calls are very, very stressful.
Very, very, yes.
If it's a pre-due, it's okay, but if it is late stage bucket, write-off, settlement, it's very stressful. They're going to tell you a lot of things that you genuinely don't want to, even know.
And India as a country and the amount of geographical challenges, because every geography has different kind of people, different kind of thing. Some will behave, some will not behave, and some will behave extremely, right? So that's become a very, very challenging job to be done, right? Because it is just not about, the professionalism does not stand in that kind of collections department.
Not only that, see, it's not about India or it's not about any other country, right? I'm portraying a life of a call center agent who is kind of has a bunch of SLAs to meet, and he's almost listening to. So this is how a collection call goes. I'll tell you how it goes, right? So it says, okay, you have this much due amount. Then can you pay? The customer says, I cannot pay. Then says, can I know why you cannot pay? Said this death happened in the house. Somebody broke their leg. Somebody I am not well, or something else happened in the family, which are very, very depressing at one point. So imagine 200 calls, 100 calls, you are discussing about somebody's personal problems. There is a level of stress those people also take. So it's very difficult to expect them to be very empathetic in those situations, nor can you demand it. And that's what happens. So I was talking about the product called UB for Conversation Intelligence. We analyze millions of calls, and what we kind of find in those calls are that people are rude, agent is stressed, customer is stressed, the decibel levels go up. They are very, very heated conversations. They are very frictionsome conversations. Sometimes agents also get very sarcastic about the customer. So one of the calls we were listening, the customer was saying, hey, I didn't even take the credit card. Then the agent goes, how can you now say you didn't take the credit card? You're supposed to take the credit. So then it becomes an escalated situation, right? So then they have an argument. So imagine the traffic rage at scale that is happening. That's what a collection call center is, right? And then if we go and tell the head of the call center through our product, tell them that, hey, here are your agents not being empathetic, they could have empathized here and everything, their general response is, think about them, right? Going through this, they're more telling, hey, when can you pay or can you settle? So that is what is happening when you put humans there. That's what the technology like a voice bot is kind of trying to largely address. Some part of it we are addressing today, but I think the way AI is happening and the possibilities that it is opening, it can have a very frictionsome call with lesser friction but get a better outcome. That's where we are heading towards, which is why I'm calling the entire collection infrastructure that we are building as empathy at scale, because you cannot deliver empathy, though it should be delivered by humans, but you cannot deliver at scale. It is inhuman to ask a human to deliver 200 calls with full empathy. It's not going to happen. It's absolutely rigorous, it is cumbersome, it shakes you in. So I'll give you some examples of bot conversation so you know what it is, right? Customer says, no, I cannot pay. Bot asks, can you tell me why you cannot pay? Customer says, no, I cannot tell you, I don't want to pay. And then the bot says, I understand, but can you please tell me why you cannot pay? And then the customer uses an abusive word to the bot and says that you keep asking me, I'm not going to pay, and this is the thing. And the bot says, you can be as abusive as you want, but that's not going to result in an outcome. So, and we didn't teach this bot all of this.
They have learned over time.
They have learned over time. And you can imagine the way it handled an abuse. A human would have escalated the situation. So it's a classic traffic rage, right? So you abuse someone, other person abuses you, and then it kind of gets into that direction. But bot will not lose the cool. Bot will not lose the temperament, right? So to your point, are conversations going there? Yes, conversations are going there. But conversations are going there with a lot of control. In fact, when we take bots to kind of all our customers, if those who have not experienced it, one of the questions that they are worried about is, hey, I'll not have control over this bot. These are agentic bots that we have. These are agentic generative AI, large language model bots. And they are always worried about it will hallucinate. It will tell them something that they, that's not part of the process, and these are banks. They are, they're very regulated. So they're always worried, what if it says something that you're not supposed to say? The point is, you have lot more control over the scripts of a bot rather than with a human. The case in point was this two abuse, right? The customer threw an abuse at the bot responded with absolute dignity, did not take anything, it kind of did not say, reduce its tone or anything. It said, you are getting into an abusive behavior. I am not here to discuss that. Let's discuss when can you make the payment. Right? And while the call ended, the bot still said, I appreciate, your frustration. I'll appreciate your time. I understand your frustrations. But however, this is the policy. You have committed to make a payment, hence you have to make a payment. Right? And it closed the call with that. Of course, after that, we'll send an SMS and things like that, etc.
So many calls per day is being handled with bots. Almost you will be handling lots and lots. And how does now the governance comes into the picture? Because what it also brings is, how do you validate or how do you govern all these call so much that you are now able to say that almost 90 or 90, I don't know what parameter you say, that these conversation was right. So is there any AI governance model which you have put in all across, or how do you actually manage it?
So you're touching a very important area in AI, which is on governance. I think that's one of the areas where we are going to see more and more action coming in. At this point,
And I think regulatory will also start focusing.
they are actively working on that. What is an act at this point in time is the UAI Act. That's an act. That's an act that is passed. So we kind of take some principles of European Union AI Act and we use that for our governance. There are portals that publish the governance metric across 5 dimensions are there in the UAI governance, like on transparency, biasness, etc. And each of the model that is available, the LLMs that are available, is scored on these 5 parameters. And then, of course, we use those ones where it suits our framework and the context we operate in. Per se, India has not yet come with a act on AI, and
We are still behind. We are still talking about the DPDP Act, which was GDPR in Europe around.
see, Europe is always ahead in this when it comes to data privacy, but India had a very different take on it when Honorable Ashwini Vaishnav was addressing this question in IIT Madras. People asked him on what is AI governance and everything, and what is India's take. He said we will have a different way to scale up AI. That's how they are thinking about it. So they may not necessarily, I don't know what's going to happen, I'm just saying, they may not necessarily go in the European Union AI Act. So European Union AI Act is a little restrictive as well for large adoption. India, if you see as a market, needs more AI adoption. We need technology to reach deep pockets, right? So I was giving you an example while we were discussing earlier, right? We are reaching customers of a microfinance company. So these are villages in deep pockets. Because of UPI and everything, money is reaching them, and now they have to pay back. Credit education is very limited in these. How do we get credit education there? And AI can play an immense role in it. And their families can be run, because money is such an important part of life, and they can live with dignity because they will be able to pay back on time and they will get the right reminder. And for this to happen, you want a act that is pro you, right? Like pro making sure the technology reaches deeper pockets.
It should not hold you back, right? It should in fact encourage you. So when some act or some policies comes, people mindset is that it is restrictive. So it should not be restrictive, it should be progressive, and that is how we should see it. And with India, most of the regulations and all are more restrictive in nature, or how people take is restrictive in nature. So I think with RBI and SEBI and all these regulatory which has come in, they have allowed lot of things to be done very freely, and that the ecosystem, and that's why I am seeing the fintech is one industry where India is actually innovating and innovating very very fast. Correct. Right. Very candidly, you told about how bot is pioneering all these things. Now, for these bot or the agentic AIs or these conversational AI, right, to act accordingly and to for the prompts to work that fast, I think one of the basic infrastructure which is needed is data, right? Until unless you have the right data for the bots or for your agents to be unleashed, you cannot actually do the decision making. So how that part is being taken care within your organization?
Sure. See, because we work very closely with the banks, InfoSec is, data privacy is extremely valuable to us, and it's P0 for us. Just to give you a lay of the land of what AI solutions we have, and then the underlying data I'll address. So we do an extensive AI solution on alternate data, which is fundamentally when you are lending to pockets that has erstwhile been not catered to. So they don't have a bureau history, and possibly they have not even banked so much that they don't have a banking register, whatever, like banking history of statements, etc. Or they are new to the market, which can happen in places like UAE or Singapore or anywhere where they are coming in as an immigrant. Then they don't have a history established. We do power that decision making with our solution called as UALT, UB for alternate data. And we enrich these signals, then we build a score on top of it, which we have seen is able to capture huge amount of fraud and risk by the nature of alternate data. So these are your social media presence, your e-commerce profiles, etc. So this solution underlying, for example, as soon as they hit us with none of the data is stored. There is some level of processing that happens, scoring happens, and the data gets transmitted to the bank, and then we don't save anything, for example, in this solution. So it depends on which kind of solution we have. And then there is, you will not believe, but even now there are a lot of physical document processing. So let's say you apply for a loan, then they ask you a bunch of documents, and then you give those documents, then somebody scans those images. Then there are people who looks at those images. Let's say it's your Aadhaar card or your PAN card, your driving license, your residential address or sale agreement. Then they match these documents saying, is it of the same person? Is the name the same and everything? Then say everything is matched, and then go ahead as a part
The
of
risk it is done all by the third party, and you do not know your data is secured or it is being sold, and all those scams.
May not. So just to come back to that process I was talking about, where I was hinting is there is a lot of manual process that happens even today when it comes to loan of a certain value, right? Maybe a very low ticket loan size, people give you, if it is bureau hit, they give you with that, or if it is not, like I said, alternate data is used. But finally, even to process it, etc., you need some level of documents of authenticity and everything. And
Bureau hit, when you are saying, what is it, like CIBIL or?
yeah, that's a bureau hit, correct. That's called a bureau, and that's a bureau hit. But then there is also a bunch of documents that you submit that gets normally looked at by a set of people. So, and one of the key documents in India happens to be the bank statement. So you provide your bank statement, 6 months, 3 months bank statements, and then your bunch of insights can be got from your bank statements, and then your loan is approved or not. What I was trying to say is these are documents that the bank sends us. Because it's manual, we are automating, and we are using AI as well as large language models to automate the process. So then the data is very different. So we don't build on top of their data. We use existing open source models, and we use open source data to train our model. But when it comes to banks data, it depends whether we can put this on-prem, or if it is in our cloud, again, there is a virtual private cloud that we give, or a cloud that is shared by other players. But we ensure we comply to purging policies. Data is encrypted at motion and at rest. And then there are algorithms that is kind of ever learning, but not with that data set. Those are the things that we think about on the data part of it. So the data for us is, especially on the AI solutions, is the AI is where we focus on. The data is the bank's data. So that's how we operate.
Because why I will tell you this question is important, because most of these banks, and specifically if you will go to traditional bank, do not have data maturity framework currently at par, right? Their data quality is very bad. The entire quality side of it very bad. Like you would have heard a case of the way Indian does the business, right? One of the leading finance private player was banned by the regulatory very recently, because the PAN, single PAN, it should be centralized, right? A customer should always be centralized in a banking system. Or it might have multiple accounts where you might be given a bank statement for a certain account where it is all green. But there might be a bank statement for the same person with other banks, or with the same bank, he might have multiple accounts now, right? You need a unique ID of that particular customer to have a 360 or holistic view of it. Now, most of the bank currently lacks that. Now, if you are fed with that data, which is also not correct or not qualitized, so are you doing any kind of enrichment, or all those process massaging or transformation happens, or it is AI just depends on all the data which is bank is giving?
Correct. So it is, we don't store their data. That's what I want to say. See, we play at the level of applying AI to the bank's problems. So banks' data, whatever they have consented willingly, flows through the UB platform. That has a proper data management and everything. But all the purging, storage for reports, etc., it is again reports done for the banks, right? The data processing is happening for the bank. So we are in a way bound by the guardrails that the bank has. Unlike for any other consumer-facing fintech company, where the data, you are the principal, right? In this case, we are not the principal of the data. So we don't have control over the data, and we handle it like that. So even if call recordings we store, they have access to those call recordings at request and everything. And there is a particular purge policy we follow, which we agree, and then we purge the data. That's how we treat. We treat data with that degree of separation.
Okay, so the purging is on customer request, or is it a general
There is a
purging
policy that we agree that
with the customer?
with the customer, because sometimes you want to store for retrieval for audit purposes. So they do ask us to store. In that case, we store. So we are a processor. We are not a principal. So we are absolutely aware of it while we handle data. That's why our AI layer is very different from a fintech company's AI team. Even my team or the applications we build is for the banks, right, with their data. But the innovation is we are not training on their data. We have open source equivalents and all of that, and that also makes the things extremely challenging. But that's how we are working on things.
Because going through the social media profiles and all to generate a risk, how successful it is, means in your era, means is it giving you a credible kind of what is the success rate, and what kind of
The lift is easily 30-40% than your traditional data. That's something we have seen. And though many people ask us, can you score without, so the way, I'll tell you how this UAlt platform works, right? So I'll get better understanding. So let's say you want to lend to pockets that is erstwhile not been lent to. It's a new segment. A lot of such new segments are coming in. It can be a student coming in for a job also, or it can be for MSMEs or pockets that has not seen credit earlier, or it has been very deep pocket in credit, but you still want to do a fraud check, right? These are the use cases that comes under UAlt. So email ID, phone number is needed to enrich 150 to 200 signals about you. So even today, if you give me your email ID, phone number, I can give you a report on on your alternate signals, a 4-page report on you. Okay. A 4-page, full-fledged report. This is also using generative AI. We generate the report about a customer. So it's like a mini credit report that we generate based on all the signals we have about you, and that there are many signals. So that's how this works. So it enriches a lot of signals, and then we also take a dependent variable from the bank in order to train this data for the bank with their data. Once we train, the model is ready, we release the API, we purge all the data. So that's how this works.
So when the training happens, it is specifically
For that
for
bank.
that bank.
For that bank.
So you are not combining
Yeah,
the other bank's
not at
data
all.
together and building a model,
not
not
at all.
right. So it is specifically guardrail towards a bank.
Towards that bank, yeah.
And then when open source comes with that bank and open source combinedly, you make an instance and that is for you.
In the score bit, there is no open source per se. In the score project, it is the bank's data and our enriched data. So we take fundamentally 3 signals from the bank: email ID, phone number, and the dependent variable, and then we build it for that. For, of course, their consented customers and all of that. Consent is a huge part of alternate data playing, and it is not surveillance, right? See, you can look at alternate data scoring as surveillance. It's not surveillance. It's not like I am checking, I'm intruding into your privacy and doing something. First, these are all public available. So your LinkedIn profile is a publicly available information if you choose to make it public. If you have not chosen to make it private, it will not be public. It will not be part of the data. But many people leave it public, right? And and we are addressing people to get them more loans that they want with lesser hassle. That's the play for the alternate data. It really helps us deepen credit, but it's not a ruthless deepening of credit where the money never comes back, but it is a calculated deepening of credit where the risk is very less.
Okay. So how are these open source platform helping you, specifically with the evaluation of UPI coming in India, and it is majorly you are able to reach to very deep pockets. So for platform like UB and all, is it a major deal breaker, the evaluation of UPI and
UPI is a deal breaker for the economy, right? Otherwise, how is money reaching very deep pockets in India, and how is lending happening? So it's accelerated a lot of things. It accelerated a lot of transactions, accelerated handling of money, especially accelerated paying back. So you don't need to go to a branch and pay. Not everybody can do internet banking. That penetration is very, very less. Even mobile app banking penetration is very less. So how people pay back is through UPI, small ticket loans, right? And it has really, really accelerated the growth of the penetration and the reach of finance into a good base of India.
one concept which I really liked what UB is doing is co-lending, right? Where usually if I have to take a loan, or let's say if I am running an organization and I have to raise a fund, I generally will reach to a VC, one VC, and my demand is too much with that particular VC because I do not have that network of going to Sequoia Capital and all those big names, right? I can go to a local vendor or somewhere where a small amount, but my demand is still more. Now, in that case, most of those things goes into struggle because I am not able to reach the right platform. In that way, the co-lending is really helping out, and UB is transforming that. So, in the regulation side of it, how is being handled this co-lending part of thing, and how you are able to build that ecosystem, and how it is helping the SMEs and the small pocket.
Okay, co-lending is not peer-to-peer lending. So co-lending is a different thing. It is, let's say there are NBFCs and Fintechs who want to lend, who are kind of sourcing loans. Then there are multiple banks behind that to, to fund that lending. That's what co-lending is. It's debt. It's not equity, and it is not peer-to-peer lending. So the regulations have supported that. One way to accelerate credit is to kind of make it is order to facilitate and power co-lending. So that's how we have been at the forefront of it. We are the largest player in that.
And these there are government banks, and then there are private players. So the ecosystem allows you to collaborate between the private banks and
Yeah, absolutely.
so it gives you that flexibility.
Correct. Yeah, so that's where it is, right? So RBI in a lot of place have been pro credit, but except that their guardrails have been the credit should go with the right governance so that the money comes back into the ecosystem, because ruthless lending at the end of it is going to only make everyone lose. So that's the angle that they have been coming in.
And what is the percentage of write-offing has been done in UB? Do you have any kind of, so that we understand that the framework, whether the money is coming back to the economy or it is just the lending part and the collection becomes a very
So
difficult
we
thing?
are not a bank.
Yeah, absolutely.
We are
Platform.
a technology player.
Platform, yeah.
So we don't write off anything. The banks write off, the NBFCs write off, right? And we wouldn't know their exact metric or anything like that.
But your AI will chat, right? Or the
So we
conversational.
get a part of, so for example, if AI is doing a conversational bot, we get a part of their portfolio. And then they say this is the write-off segment, and then let's do a settlement or something like that on that through a conversational bot.
That settlement part, how a conversational AI or an agentic AI is making that decision right away, or is it already being feeded that you have to settle this particular?
There are various journeys on this. See, write-off is a very different thing. You asked about write-off, and that's why I had to talk about it. Write-off is absolutely the way or RBI regulations say when you should write off. Banks governance says how do you move from SMA 0 to SMA 1 to SMA 3, etc. Right? So that's different on write-off. A bot doesn't decide what is a write-off or not. However, if your question is how do you kind of understand when to settle? Is the bot making that decision? Okay, so this is how I'll explain how a bot works, and then I'll explain how we work with the banks on conversational bots. And like I said, we're not only restricted to BFSI, we are getting into, in BFSI, we are also getting into insurance, and we are also kind of going non-banks at this point.
You told retail also, you are.
Yeah, real estate, it is what we are kind of going in. So to come back to bot, there are few components in a bot. The first one is you are speaking something to the bot. It goes in certain packets of information, of audio packets, that's called as audio streaming, and then there is a engine that understands the speech. That's automatic speech recognition engine. It's called ASR. ASR has been there for a very, very long time. In fact, there was a platform in the US called as Tell Me. So what people used to do is they are going around and they want to find out where is the next pizza place. They'll say, tell me where is the pizza place. So tell me, it was a phone call, I think, and they say, tell me where is the pizza place. So it recognized what they are asking, and then it was, so the origin of language models, origin of automatic speech recognition has been very long, except that the usage of LLMs have kind of accelerated that entire application about it. So there is an automatic speech recognition that happens, which converts the audio to text, and then there is a large language model that we hit, or there are NLP models that we hit to understand what did the user say, right? And then there is text-to-speech models that come into picture, which speaks back to the customer. So this is what happens inside the bot. So we kind of own this part of technology. So we are a technology partner that way to the bank on this particular bit. Now, when it comes to conversations, it is not only about the technology. It is also about how should the conversations go, right? So I was, while we were chatting, I was giving an example, right? So pre-due means the customer is yet to pay, right? So pre-due means the due date has yet to come, sorry. And the customer is yet to pay. So it may be 2 days due, 3 days. In 3 days, the due date is coming. So you're doing a gentle nudge to the customer. When you're doing a gentle nudge, and in a gentle nudge, the customer is saying, I don't think I'll be able to pay, the bot will say, kindly request you to make your payment because this could impact your credit score and you will not be able to get the loan. So the customer still says, no, I'll not be able to pay. Bot doesn't have too much chance to persuade beyond this because the customer has not yet defaulted. Right? He may default. So you're just giving a slight warning, gentle message. How you speak in this is extremely important in that context. So this is what we call as a conversational flow. How many times you want to nudge the customer, how persuasive the bot should be. Should it collect information on payment, like I'm saying, okay, I'll pay, then when will you pay, have you planned, will you keep it in your in your account for an ECS, what is it that, how are you going to pay, little bit of nudge it will do, it will not force it. But let's say in a late stage bucket, I've already defaulted for 90 days, it will be a little bit strict with you, again within the guardrails of the bank. So the way we work, we put out a conversational flow, and based on the user experience, based on the conversations we have seen, our experience in this space, and the banks will have their own policy, their own business rules coming in. it's a consultative consultation that happens back and forth, and then we agree that this is the final workflow. So coming back to your settlement question, now what happens in a settlement case is, we know there is an option to settle. Similarly, how a human agent would be informed, right? They can't take a call on it. So somebody on 90 days due, they cannot suddenly say you can settle and close. That's not part of what is allowed. So we get to know what is allowed and what are the options the bot has. The bot may not say everything right off to the customer at the beginning. It may reveal one by one as a negotiation, like how a human would negotiate. So we know these calls are eligible for a settlement, but we want to do it without a settlement. So we try pushing one without settlement, and then if it comes to settlement, we go there. But there are banks which say, no, directly talk about settlement, no point in trying them to pay, and then we do that. So it's an area where we work hand in glove with the banks, business teams, in order to make sure the flow reflects what their policies are, but at the same time, the conversation part of it, we kind of help them understand on how a conversation will make the best outcome for them.
And it is in the business model, you handle both direct customers and the enterprises also, right? Because there are two way the loans would have gone. Number one, to a customer, to a particular individual or customer. Let's say some student has picked up a student loan, those kind of settlement. And the second part is an enterprise would have taken a certain amount of fund and all, and they are defaulting it. So so your bots are differentiating between these customer.
Not only between enterprise and student, right? About persona. In fact, we have a video generation product that is very focused on persona itself. So we are very specific about the persona. So the bot or video or any solution which we do for financial institutions or for our clients, which touches the end customer, it has a persona angle to it. So that's why when we design the flow, the first thing we ask is, who is your audience? Because the language is important. We in fact spend time with the banks in their call centers to understand how a call center agent is talking, right? You're talking to pockets which are not very urban. So we understand credit score, we understand the impact that could have because of your credit score into other part of it. They don't understand this. So they use words like, or let's say, settlement is something people understand. So even in Hindi, it will say, settlement kijiye, right? So they don't try and translate settlement into a Shuddh Hindi and talk about it. So these are some of the nuances we understand when we work with the call center on how they are talking to certain persona. If it is a very urban persona, let us say a bot is kind of introducing a loan to you. One of the experiments we did it for urban persona, I can directly talk about your foreclosure charges, for example, right? Now, it's very difficult to exactly put that in local language in India on what a foreclosure charge is. So you need to come up with a better word so that they understand what foreclosure is. See, there are two problems here. One, you need to understand what is foreclosure. Then how do you express it in that language? So those are nuances we kind of understand, and that's why it's a very tightly coupled part to get the workflow and to get the conversation right in place. One, how do you kind of communicate to people who are little not great on the credit education, it is still coming in, and how do you kind of use the words and semantics around it?
So this is around the settlement part. Yeah. Then there is another part of it which is lending also.
Yeah.
So the bots are also helping in lending or finding the new customers or cold calling, all those things are also being done?
Across the value chain we operate. Not only bots, like I am saying, across the AI space of scores, computer vision, for example, there is a solution which we do where an entire credit report of an enterprise, right, which talks about the financials of the enterprise, their revenue streams, their product distribution, the geographical distribution of it, the directors of the company, the related party of the directors of the company, the pros and cons of investing and putting this money in the company or not. So the whole credit report of a company we generate through AI. And similarly, hence we operate it across the life cycle. So from lead generation to fraud alert, to kind of nudging the customer to keep a minimum balance in their account as soon as they are opening, FD renewal, FD maturity, collections. Across the value chain we operate. The modus operandi is same. The consultation on how a conversation should be, what is the right way to get an outcome, we kind of work with the bank on it, adhering to their business process, adhering to their business policies. So giving you an example of lead generation, let us say the bot says, you have a 20% reducing balance interest rate, right? Now, that has to come from the bank only. Now, people ask, what is reducing balance? How does the reducing balance convert to an annual interest? There is a conversion formula. But banks may tell us, no, you can say that number or you cannot say that number. That is their discretion. But we tell them it is better if you say, because reducing balance on a fixed interest rate would come to be very less. Some banks quote fixed interest rate to their customers. So customers get confused. Is it X% fixed interest rate or Y% reducing balance, right? So that kind of thing we can say, we can give them a conversion, or we can just say in the conversation, it could work out to X or Y. But whether we can say that or not say that, that policy is determined by the bank. Like what you can communicate to the customer, what is policy, what is not, because there are nuances to it for that customer, for that tenure, etc. So that they may not say at the first go, you may want to say, that is controlled by them.
And sometimes these banks are not a single bank. There might be a combination of banks also, which are co-lending, right?
No, see, co-lending is not facing the end customer. We are talking about the retail customer. We don't lend anything directly to the retail customer, just to tell you. No, we don't lend, or we do only, we are a technology partner to the bank, right? So we are you imagine us as a technology platform through which lending transactions go. We assist in decision making. Wherever banks have signed a contract with us to execute something for them, be it a bot, be it a document processing engine that we do, or be it on videos, video generations, or be it on scores, it's something that they have told us to do, and we do it on their behalf.
Okay, great. I am getting remembrance of a Indian classic cinema. There was a movie called Chupke Chupke, Shahid Kapoor classic, right? So in that, there is a very funny scene where Shakti Kapoor comes and asks the lender. Lender has given around 35 lakh rupees. And he comes that I need to write off, because he has done all the analysis. He has to go collect the money and he could not collect. So he told, can you write off? So he asked, okay, how much? So he tells 36 lakh. So I have just given 35 lakhs. Why do I need to lend off 36 lakh? Well, that entire collection chain, I have spent 1 lakh rupees. So that's a clear case that I have given 35 lakhs, but I have spent 1 lakh more just to get the collection. So it is such hefty manpower thing. So it's quite a funny scene. Now, when we talk about when a technology comes into picture, so do you see it adding value on cost perspective also? Absolutely. That how much is the difference, and is it making sense for bank also? I know the entire handling person or handling third party is one part of it, but on cost part of it also, is it making sense for the banks and all?
Yeah, see, there are two parts to it. One is the cost, second is the scale, right? So there are cases where you don't need to call also, right? You can digitally resolve an issue. Take again, your due is in 2 days, and you know you will pay, and then your salary is going to come and you're going to make the payment. As a person in the bank, I may be worried it's 2 days, money has still not come, so should I do a nudge? So you could do a very low cost nudge like an SMS. WhatsApp as a channel is coming big, so you could nudge in WhatsApp. You could do a WhatsApp bot that could nudge the customer, or it could be a what we call as a new product we have launched is called as voice blast, which will speak like a human, but it will just tell the information and go out. That's so you could use that as these are all absolutely low cost channels.
All these services are being charged individually as a SaaS model, or is it a combined package?
So the AI platform that we are building, I would like to call it as AI as a service. Okay. And it is different from a SaaS model. In a SaaS model, you build it and throw it over the wall, right? Like that is the platform and you take it. But in AI as a service, we act like I was saying, right? The nuances of the bank's business rules, the nuances of the conversation, their persona, how do we craft it? That's part of it. So that's how we do it. But to your question, do we charge for each of these services? Yes, in different ways and forms, yeah. And you have all of this. Now, coming to a bigger question on cost, yes, there is a huge cost arbitrage, no doubt about it, because if you can digitally resolve what you would have required a field agent to go and collect, of course, it's a huge, huge benefit. But the bigger benefit, and is often less talked about, is the scale. If I suddenly increase my portfolio by 5 million, can I increase that many number of callers? Can I increase that many number of field staff? Can I increase that many number of service staff? No, you cannot at that scale. But having a bot answer these questions, or having you to digitally resolve in all the mechanisms that I said, is absolutely scalable. Today, with our capacity, we are looking at 50,000 calls an hour. We are anywhere, and we are increasing our capacity and everything. So we are easily looking at 1 lakh and 2 lakh calls an hour. And you cannot just match that with humans. Scale is a big, big one. And not everybody needs to call. Everybody needs to be called, and everybody doesn't need to be visited. So it's not just a field agent going and visiting a customer, right? There is a manager who's matching. Then they are calling those guys and asking whether they have reached on time, etc. And most importantly, my bigger question is, what about the experience, right? How do you control experience at that scale? Only technology can control experience at that scale. You cannot control, every field agent will have that's why so many incidents happen, right? They knock the door, and then and very frictionsome conversations. It is a recipe designed for a disaster, right?
So now this is all on the ball, but on a larger environment, if you have heard our Ashwini Vaishnav very recently criticizing the startup ecosystem of India, saying that whatever we are doing, right, we are building wrappers over all these big LLMs, which OpenAI and Perspectivity and all these guys are creating. But we are not innovating as per se on that large scale which they are doing as a business. We are not creating a model for our own sake and all. And specifically for fintech business like yours, right, it requires a specific model for a country like India, because it is very core to it. Sure. And also the tier 2 cities, some guys would not have that literacy of how the finance in India works, or how all these ecosystems. Some way, I understand that UPI has reached a lot of guys, but it has still not gone to that level where maybe in a place like Bihar and Jharkhand, to the core city and to the core where internet is still not available, right? But we are not. We are just building wrappers over all these bigger platforms, but not innovating in the scale which these larger model or larger players are doing. What is your thought around that?
Yes. So 2 parts to it. One, are we just building a wrapper on top of the LLMs? That's kind of not doing justice to the work that's happening. There is a last mile AI problem that needs to be solved, which is kind of taking AI for adoption at scale, right? In fact, Nandan and both Satya in one of these conferences, as well as in their discussions, have talked several times about it. We underestimate the last mile. The last mile AI problem is a humongous problem to solve. How do you kind of build AI for that context and deliver value for that use case, right? Because every company out there cannot have AI scientists and all of that. People need to know how things work. People need to know what is needed, and then you need the solution to work. So the last mile AI problem, if it is not cracked, the AI will remain in data centers, right? It will not bring the transformation that it is supposed to bring in. So India is going to be a huge, huge hub for the last mile AI. I would like to call it will be the hub of last mile AI, because we have people who understand context like nobody else understands context. Then you have every firepower out there to kind of fine tune a model or bring up the right flavor of the AI solution to meet it. And I've been at it for a long time, so it is not trivial problem to be filled it with. It's a very, very complex problem because you are working with business entities who knows their process day in and day out, and you're trying to build a transformation from outside to their customers. You can ask for every complexity possible here, right? So the last mile AI problem is here to stay and here to be solved, and I think the DNA is right to solve that. That's number one. Number two, India AI mission is something pretty good, and I think those India LLMs should come in because like you were saying, right, the cultural nuance, the semantic of the language should be expressed very well. Even today, LLMs are not great in generating for local context. There are a few things that's when we talk about LLMs. Let me tell you what are all at the core missing. One, certainly vernacular languages. Other than Hindi itself, it is sometimes it goes. You see, English. Nobody does Shakespeare in English at this point in time. The spoken English is what you write. But if you take any of our languages, the written and spoken differ. And LLMs are struggling at this point in time. In Hindi, to some level, they have solved it. But if you take, Tamil, Telugu, Marathi, Gujarati, anything, they are not even there, right? There are fundamental mistakes it makes. So that anyway is a big gaping hole, and India is at the right place. The India LLMs are at the right place to solve. Having said that, LLMs like Gemini, etc., are also in their attempt to solve it, but this problem has to be solved. Definitely having, because AI is going to be a big defensibility strategy for any country, and hence having your own AI, your own LLMs is going to be extremely crucial from that perspective. So, for sovereignty's sake, it is needed to have your AI built for the country. Now, but that does not trivialize those who are solving the context, those who are taking the AI to where it will make a difference. And the India AI initiative is a great initiative. I think, for example, if you take us, we have an initiative for AI for Bharat, the company behind Bashini and all of those. We are releasing an automated speech recognition, ASR for India, working with them as well. So I think it's extremely important that the LLMs are built in India for local languages, for the cultural context. Then the other part of it is a business context, which is very specific to India. One is the cultural context of how I'm going to talk to you, but a business context. For example, when you talk about certain settlement or certain policies, insurance policies in India, they come up with a very different flavor than what the West is. So all these LLMs are trained with the Western business rules, so their responses are also like that, right? So hence the business context is also important for the foundational models to be built. So cultural context, business context, the semantics of the language, these three things, if the India AI initiative could solve it, it will be a huge win for all of us.
Yeah, no, that's absolutely right.
And sorry to add there, because you triggered my interest on that. So whatever Honorable Minister is making, a part of it I do agree that we need to kind of get there. But I do not want to trivialize the last mile AI problem as well. The other problem that's happening with the LLMs, enterprise LLMs of Google, Microsoft, or OpenAI or anything, any innovation there, any incremental model first gets launched in the server sitting in the US. Yes. Though NVIDIA has a huge plan of India, Google has a huge plan of India, unless otherwise you are open to use an LLM that's hosted outside India, you don't have a chance, to leverage those models for large scale business use case. Of course, you can write your email with it, you can, draft a thank you message with it, but the real enterprise use case needs servers to be hosted in India.
Server residency, data residency, these are some of the major trivial problem because lots of these major providers of data technology tools and all, their pods are still not available in India. But where I see the countries are moving towards, with all the geopolitical situation happening currently, the sovereignty of the country remains, and they would like to protect it, they would like to trace it, because Next generational wars are going to be
On AI.
on AI, absolutely on AI. And until unless you have control,
Exactly.
you are going to face a tremendous.
Correct.
Uh, no, it is great. Now, one thing which I have seen, Sri, is the way we are moving towards the next generation. Now, generative AI came, it transformed. Now we are talking about agentic AI. And with all these technologies and then advancement, what is happening, setting up a business or creating a business is very easy now. You can always set up a company within months, right? And start doing. But the scalability of it, like making a big business, like being the Haldirams of it or the Adanis, which took time to build, right? To be an enterprise, that is becoming more difficult. There are companies which are getting very built immediately. So, how we are going to handle the scalability and to build that ecosystem where business are not just framed out, built, and then shut down, but it scales.
The democratization of business is what you're asking. I don't know about traditional businesses to do any comment on it, but I can little bit comment about technology and AI and data businesses. So data was a business at one point. For example, Google was a data business, right? The power of Google came from the data it had. So apparently, and this I heard from the initial investors of Google. So I heard it from the horse's mouth when he was addressing a small group of people. Was apparently when Google came and pitched to the initial set of investors, they said you already have. A bunch of search engines. Why Alta Vista or something was there at that point in time, and why do you need another? The world doesn't need another search engine, is what they said. And then, of course, Google came out, etc. But beyond Google, another search engine was struggling to come. Even Bing has a very smaller market share. But OpenAI changed the game overnight. So the kind of hold, and it was because of data and it was because of history. Who holds the data had answers to technology business till OpenAI came and absolutely disrupted it. So your hold on data, your moat that you had, you could prevent a lot of players coming in because you had the hold of data, was smashed overnight with AI, right? Now, in fact, that is what AI has done. It has kind of gotten the barrier to entry a lot lesser. Of course, you have to do what you have to do. Capital continues to be a entry barrier, and capital will solve availability of capital to large more number of entrepreneurs will bring in more AI and technology business today, and hence that's possibly where we are lacking. It's not because of the situation or anything like that. I think it's also a system. So more unicorns come out of India, more of them get listed, and more investors make money. Then more money comes in, and then that kind of sets the ball rolling much more faster. Of course, this market breathes with the right tech talent, the right AI talent, etc. And there is good amount of investment coming in, but it is, in my opinion at least, we need more of those. If we have to create another valley out of Bangalore and places in India, we need more capital to come in. Capital will solve a lot of the problem. The capital will provide innovation. Capital will provide, great business ideas. Capital will transform, and possibly if there's something that the government can do about encouraging, more VCs to come into India and fund more of those, I think that could accelerate startups quite a lot. And we need it. We are not at a stage where, these guys don't understand balance sheet and how business works and profitability and everything. We are too early for that stage. I think the stage was there at least 3 years back when there was a bull run. I think I wish it could have continued longer, could have encouraged a lot of more startups. And of course, many come and many die, but then you make a market in that way. So that's what I would say. I would say it's not about situation, AI or data or technology. We should be able to attract more capital than what we have.
Yeah, and it's a great way to end this podcast. I can say that if you guys are following UB, see their Leverage India campaign. There are a lot of VCs lots of funds flowing in India. You can always reach them out. They are one who is pioneering small businesses, helping SMEs, and solving all these ground related challenges. So the businesses in India strives, startups in India strives, and you make another formidable company. Great hosting Sri today.
Thank you.
Thank you
Thank
for
you
all
so
the
much.
insights, and for viewers, please reach out to Sri for any further follow-up discussion if you want to, or drop us your questions. Take care.
Thank you. It has been a brilliant conversation. I think we touched a lot of topics from AI governance to how the ministry is thinking about it, what is innovation, how we use Western LLMs to how should we have our own LLMs. It's been a great discussion, Shivesh. Thank you so much for this. Thank you.